Hey everybody, the Bad Pennies are back.
We are back.
I'm Sho, and this is my friend Alan. And we're going to talk to you today about, what did we call this? Acknowledgement?
Well, acknowledgement, for lack of a better topic name, because initially you were talking to me about, men loving themselves or caring about themselves.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't think that's an issue that is very 20th, if not 21st century problem. Okay.
Acknowledgement.
Because men really, for most all of the history, our history as men, we've been too busy doing stuff to worry about that.
To hear somebody tell you good job and all that.
Well, what we do is when a man does a particularly good job, they make a statue.
That's
right?
A good job, yeah.
Okay, but it's usually after you're dead, and in many cases not even until hundreds of years after you're dead. So that meant you did a really, really good job, because they're still talking about you hundreds of years after you're gone.
Yeah.
Right. So but what does it really mean when a man thinks that he needs acknowledgement for something?
Soft, weak,
Well,
needy,
soft, weak, a little feminized, maybe.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I gotta say, there's a generation that came after us that had a different sensitivity, training, and upbringing. And even though we grew up, rub some dirt on it kind of people, the people that came later, that grew up in the system and the culture and the lifestyle that they grew up in, acknowledgement is something that they need.
Oh, right, because they started giving trophies to everybody in school. It's like there were no winners and losers. Everybody's a winner, and everybody gets acknowledgement and all of that kind of stuff, and everybody gets a gold star, but that actually, unfortunately, and I know that all you equality waving, flag waving people out there are gonna go, well, we hate you for saying this, but the truth is, men who before they're men are boys, and the growing up process actually need the competition. There's a inherent benefit to not just competing, but losing.
Yeah, you learn.
Losing.
Yeah. You don't want to learn. You don't want to lose, so it makes you want to try to figure out how to not lose again.
Michael Jordan said that he was ridiculed on the court, and so he went home and practiced.
Well,
until he could come back, and the ridicule, the loss, was what drove him to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
Yeah.
All right.
He said he got cut from his high school.
He got cut, and he got ridiculed on the local outdoor courts and neighborhood pickup games and stuff like that. So it drove him to success. It drove him, and it always has.
Yeah.
It's always driven men. Experiencing initial loss,
right. And nobody had to tell Michael Jordan attaboy.
No, and they didn't have to. He didn't even need the acknowledgement. And so this comes back to our subject here. All right, and I'm just going to put it out there very cleanly and simply so everyone can understand it. All right, for men, the only one that needs to acknowledge you is you.
Okay.
The only one that really cares about the good job that you do is you. And if others care, that's great, but it doesn't really matter, because you're going to do a great job. Whatever it is you decide to do, you're going to do a good job at it, or a great job at it, because that's what you do. That's what you're driven to do. And by achieving whatever level that you achieve, the only acknowledgement that really matters is this one.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm gonna piggyback on that and say that there are some times when you want to be recognized, and not necessarily in the form of acknowledgement, but just even if it's just a quick head nod or something like that. Like,
well,
here's what I mean.
Okay.
I'm thinking about like the whole Father's Day thing. Like a lot of people talk about Father's Day, how Mother's Day is a bigger deal than Father's Day, right? Father's Day, you get a tie and Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day is just Mother's Day with a different name on it.
No, because Mother's Day is a whole production.
Well,
okay, and Father's Day is
you
not.
Haven't heard my version of Mother's Day. Mother's Day is every day of the year.
But let me finish though. So you have plenty of fathers out there nowadays that are be like, well, what about Father's Day? Because Mother's Day is so big in the production, and Father's Day is just a little something just on the side. And a lot of fathers, before this new current generation of fathers, a lot of fathers are cool with the tie. Because they were just like, oh, they're only doing this because their mother told them to, or because their teacher at school told them to.
Well, again, all of the holidays are because of women, not because of men.
Yeah. So all fathers need, every once in a while, I'm visualizing. Here's the visual I have. If you have a father watching this kid on the playground, let's say the kid is like 3 years old, okay? The kid's out on the playground with other kids having a good time, doing things what other kids do. But then all of a sudden the kid looks up, looks around, sees his dad, and waves a little bit, and then goes back to playing. The father saw that. That's all the kid that father needs to know is, hey, Dad, where are you?
Right. But that, sure, that feels good, but how important is it?
It's not important.
It's
but what
not.
I'm saying is that's all they need. That's the most that they need. If you can give them that little bit, they don't need the whole Father's Day production.
Do you know the phrase cherry on top?
Cherry on top, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, that's a cherry on top. There's nothing more. It's not the meat. And men traditionally are only concerned with the meat.
Okay.
Fair point. The meat is that your daughter or son grow up healthy, emotionally and psychologically stable, and they go and they do good in the world.
Okay. Yeah.
And if they do that, that is all. Again,
you did your job.
You then it's back to this, complete. Right? It's back to this.
So why do you need to be acknowledged?
You don't. That we don't need to be acknowledged. We have no. It isn't part of our DNA because we're not. We're not emotionally connected to things.
Yeah.
All right. And look, women are amazing in the fact that they are emotionally connected to literally everything, and acknowledging women is something we should do all of the time for the good things that they do and the beauty that they bring to the world. And that's why I say every single day is Mother's Day, and even Father's Day is just a version of another version of Mother's Day. and if you get an hour, take it.
Yeah.
Right? Because most of the time, and most of the men that I know, the whole day is controlled not by them, but by their wife.
Yeah,
all right?
Okay.
She tells him what they're doing for Father's Day, and he just goes along because he knows that that's just what he has to do. It doesn't really matter to him. He doesn't need the acknowledgement.
Yeah. I would say that as the kids get older, the mother should have less responsibility on what goes on Father's Day.
Yeah, and she will or she won't. It just depends on her personality or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if there wasn't a Father's Day, would any men really have a problem?
No.
And I don't know any man that would.
I mean, okay, well, a good father does it because he wants to do it. He goes out and does what needs to be done because it needs to be done. He takes care of his business.
Right.
And as long as he can see the fruit of his labor, he can see it, and he can see the results, that's all he cares about.
That's all he cares about.
That the results come back at him as long as he can see it himself.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So let's take it a step further.
Okay.
Because it's not even just about acknowledgement on Father's Day. It's acknowledgement in the world in general, right?
In the workforce.
The work you do, right? In the workforce. So we don't even need to care that much about the work we do. What men are, as you said about the results, men are actually much more connected to and concerned with how others receive the work that they do. In other words, even if you're just doing one little widget in a factory, if that widget isn't done exactly right, the whole thing falls apart, right? It breaks.
Yeah.
I mean, they learned that during World War II when workers in factories would put out just one small little tiny part that was inferior, and in the middle of battle or whatever, the whole thing, exactly, the plane falls out of the sky. I mean, it's a true story. I mean, these things really happened.
Yeah.
And so the pride that you take within yourself, the standards, the integrity, the care of how you do everything that you do.
None of that requires acknowledgement.
None of that requires acknowledgement, because if you do it all at that level with integrity and attention to detail and standards and all that stuff, that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all a man really needs, and knows that somewhere out there his widget is keeping the plane in the air. Right? That it's not going to fall out of the sky because he did a really good job with whatever his part was in the deal. And I actually propose that we're losing that our connection as men to that way of being.
Okay.
Okay. It's getting it's eroding. It's becoming diminished because we're becoming much more concerned with the acknowledgement than we are with the quality of the work, and acknowledging ourselves for just doing a good job. And so think about it, as you go through your day, think about how if there are moments where you think that you need to be acknowledged, where is that really coming from, and why? Well, I mean, what is it, and what kind of fulfillment does acknowledgement for a man actually serve anyway?
Okay, so let's answer that. So for a person who's seeking acknowledgement, right, looking for it, and his feelings get hurt, he gets emotional about why he doesn't get it.
Exactly.
What is missing from that man's life that makes him seek that acknowledgement?
Exactly. There's something missing, and that's not. Those things missing haven't ever really been missing for us up until the last 100 years.
Last 50.
Yeah, 50. I mean, for sure. But I mean, it's like life was just too hard to be worried about those kinds of things.
Yeah. And life was so hard that even when your life was good, your parents especially, they made your life hard on purpose to prepare you for the life that you were going to leave.
Because life is difficult and hard, and I mean it still to a degree is, but certainly not at the level that it used to be. And if you're just battling all the time to survive, then you don't have time to worry about acknowledgement. It's just not been a traditional part of who we are. Right. Now, that being said, all things being equal, right? As leaders, we acknowledge those that we lead, men and women, but not because they need acknowledgement. It's a different context. All right, so you're leading, say you're leading a team at work, or you're leading, a particular group with, at church or whatever. I mean, you're leading something.
Okay.
Leadership, and the way that I've been teaching it, the way that I teach it to corporations, is that it is a position of service. All right, leadership is not being the one in charge, which is the concept in America these days, is that I'm the leader and I'm in charge and you do what I say. That's not leadership. That's tyranny, actually, by definition. Doing what I say is tyranny.
Okay.
Leadership is a whole different deal, and it is if the team fails because the leader failed, not because the team failed. All all failure and breakdowns come back to land on the leader, and all the successes go to the team. And that context that you are giving it away all the time, you're giving it away to your team so that they are successful. You're helping them do what they do and be successful as a team to achieve whatever it is you're out there that you're trying to accomplish. I mean, it could be anything really. It could be little simple stuff or very complicated things, but you've got a particular goal or a purpose or direction that you have, a cause that you're fighting for, and so you all the successes along the way, you acknowledge your team for it, so they know the flow of energy. They know the direction things are.
Okay.
All right.
So it's a little bit of a motivational tool.
Well, I suppose it can be, but it's not the reason to do it either. It's good leadership. It's really good leadership because it works.
So you're saying that a good leadership is to give acknowledgement, but men don't need to receive acknowledgement.
That's true, exactly. And so when you give acknowledgement, it's not because they need it. It's because you're showing them the direction of the flow.
Okay.
Because everything that goes wrong lands on you, and everything that goes right lands on them.
Okay. So
and that is the natural flow of leadership.
So a person who doesn't
It isn't
really...
in politics these days. It doesn't seem to be the rule,
No.
but that's only because they've lost. It's all become again about them and a need for something, a need to be acknowledged, or a need to not be responsible, or a need to get reelected, or a need to stay in power, or a need to make a certain amount of money, or whatever it is. All of those needs drive men and women away from principles.
Okay.
Good principles. So what we're talking about here is acknowledgement is a tool that a good leader uses
To keep people in the right direction.
Well, to take care of the people that he leads.
Okay. So
That's
for a person
the
who's
job,
not necessarily
isn't
seeking the validation,
Right.
It's not seeking the acknowledgement.
Right.
When they hear the leader give acknowledgement, they're just knowing, all right, I'm doing the right thing, and then just keep going with their
it? Right. They
It's
keep
not
going,
something
and
like, hey,
exactly,
wallow.
exactly. It's not, doesn't have to even be a big ceremony, but
Yeah.
It also means that they know that the leader's paying attention.
Okay.
That the leader sees the work that they're doing.
Yeah, but they're gonna do the work regardless. They don't need the
Yeah,
acknowledgement.
all right. You go to work and they say, "This is your job. Do it or else."
Yeah, just do it.
Then you do it.
You don't need a good job and an attaboy
Right.
after.
Right. But
Whatever you're supposed to do.
when the leaders see you doing good work and they say something about it, it's not that you needed it, but it's not a bad thing to have.
No. I get it. It's an arrow on the road, telling you you're going in the right direction.
Going the right way.
That's it. That's all you need.
That's all you
And
need.
you can just keep on driving.
Right. So, but the leader, unfortunately, as I call it, the burden of leadership, because there's an inherent burden. Maybe we'll do a whole podcast on, because I don't know whether we kind of started out talking about leadership, didn't we?
Yeah,
So
we did
that
like
was
2 podcasts.
in a whole season back. Yeah. So, but go back and look at some of those, because we covered a lot of the principles around leadership.
We did. I think we did like 2 or 3 podcasts.
We did.
It definitely 2 hours worth.
Really delving into all of the ins and outs of leadership.
Yeah.
And what it means, what it requires of you as a man.
Yeah.
Right. What we have to bring out of ourselves, and the work that we have to do in order to be good leaders. Right. So being a good leader, one of the things is using all of the effective tools, because you care. It really comes down to that.
Yeah.
And giving the acknowledgement to someone that you're leading shows that you care, because they know that you're paying attention and that you see that they're working hard.
Okay.
Right? They don't need it. They're going to do the job anyway.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, that statistics have shown that by doing that, actually increases quality and productivity.
Okay.
Which is why I teach it in corporate trainings,
Yeah.
right? That's why I tell corporations to stop being assholes and start acknowledging their people and rewarding them for the good work that they're doing, because without that great work, they wouldn't be where they are. And not only that, they could be even further.
Okay.
If that's what they want, right? Because look, you treat people well. There's a, it's funny. I don't like to get into the whole metaphysical, spiritual realm of all this stuff. I kind of like to
let's say that for other
stay within our lane.
This is not that YouTube channel,
and sort of stay kind of like into the what you can see, feel, and taste range, right? But that being said, good things attract good things.
Okay.
Negativity attracts negativity, and so when you're treating people well, it's attractive. There's a certain kind of attraction in the universe, right? So that's about as far as I'm going to go with this particular thought. But I know I can say it because I know, or at least I'm pretty confident that everyone listening has experienced that on some level.
Okay. So for leadership, it's good to give acknowledgement, but if you're under leadership, you don't have to look for it and receive it in order for you to go do what it is you're supposed to do.
Correct.
You just need it as a directional.
It's just it's a cherry on cherry on top. That's all it is.
Okay.
It's just a cherry on top, and by the way, even if you're the one being directed, make sure that you bring out the leadership qualities in yourself too, because that shows up with others.
So all this time I've been harboring these feelings that you never told me I did a good job putting this podcast up on YouTube.
Never. I never will. I will never tell you what a great job.
I love it. Thank you.
All right.
Everybody, thank you for this episode. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bad Pennies.
Bad Pennies will be back.